Hello brothers and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. The quietest minds often carry the loudest truths. You ever notice how the smartest person in the room is usually the one saying the least? Just sipping water, watching the chaos unfold like it's free entertainment? Yeah, that's not an accident, that's not shyness. That's a Sigma male processing data faster than you can blink and already 5 moves ahead before you even finish your sentence. In a world addicted to loud opinions and recycled intelligence, Sigma males are operating on an entirely different bandwidth. They don't chase attention. They don't beg to be understood. They think differently because they were built differently. And here's a cold, hard fact to marinate on. Studies show that people who spend more time in solitude often have higher problem-solving abilities and deeper critical thinking skills. Translation, that lone wolf you think is antisocial might actually be mentally bench-pressing more than the entire group combined. So today we're diving into 12 brutally honest reasons Sigma males are so smart. And trust me, it's not about IQ scores, reading 1,000 books, or being some motivational quote on legs. It's deeper, it's darker, and a little funnier than you'd expect. Let's get into it. Number 1, they're bilingual in logic and instinct. Most people live trapped in one dimension of thinking. They either over-intellectualize everything and ignore their gut, or they run purely on instinct and make impulsive, reckless choices. Sigma males don't make that mistake. They're rare because they've trained themselves to operate with both logic and instinct. And not just separately, but together. Like 2 languages they can switch between in real time. That's not just intelligence, that's mastery. A Sigma male can walk into a situation and mentally break it down like a chessboard. He sees the facts, the risks, the patterns. His brain runs the data. But at the same time, something deeper in him is scanning the energy, the tension, the motive behind the smiles. While others are debating what's smart, he already knows what's right. Because he's not picking between logic or gut, he's letting them confirm each other, and when they don't, he waits. He doesn't act until both systems align. That's what separates him from almost everyone else. People ignore their instincts because they think logic is more grown-up, or they blindly follow feelings and call it trusting the universe. But Sigma males know the universe has scammers too. That's why they build an internal firewall. Logic tests the gut. Instinct audits the logic. One checks the other, like a private counsel inside his head. This is why they often see through manipulation faster than others. Not because they're paranoid, but because their intuition catches what their logic might miss, and their logic calls out the lies their feelings might believe. It makes them hard to fool, hard to rush, and impossible to play. You can't beat someone who double-checks reality through 2 completely different channels. This mental duality makes them look almost psychic at times. They make predictions that seem lucky, read people with scary precision, and make decisions that age well even when they're unpopular. That's not magic. That's what happens when your brain and your gut aren't fighting each other but working as one. It's not about being perfect. It's about being tuned. And Sigma males are tuned differently, for truth, for clarity, and for survival in a world full of noise. Number 2, they can think like villains without becoming one. Most people avoid thinking like villains because they believe it'll make them bad. Sigma males do the opposite. They study the psychology of darkness, not to imitate it, but to immunize themselves against it. They dissect manipulation, control, and deceit the way a hacker studies malware, not to infect others, but to build a mind that can't be infected. That's what makes them so mentally untouchable. While others only think in terms of good intentions and moral checklists, Sigma males dive deep into human nature's shadow side. They don't deny that darkness exists. They map it, trace its patterns, and learn its language. They've figured out that if you only study goodness, you leave yourself blind to the plays of the wicked. And when you're blind, you're vulnerable. Sigma males simulate villain moves in their heads like war games, not because they want to be evil, but because they want to stay 10 steps ahead of it. They mentally run the scenarios. What would a narcissist do here? What would a control freak try? What lie would a manipulator use right now? And by doing so, they don't fall into traps. They watch them being set, sometimes even before the manipulator knows they're setting it. They can sit calmly in a room full of fake smiles and sense exactly who's pulling strings. They can smell emotional blackmail wrapped in kindness. They can detect power plays dressed up as help. Not because they're negative, but because they've trained their mind to think like a predator without ever becoming one. This is also why Sigma males aren't easily guilt-tripped, emotionally hijacked, or pushed into roles they didn't choose. They've studied the emotional weapons people use. They've held those weapons in their mind, turned them around, understood how they work, and then set them down. They're not dangerous because they're cruel. They're dangerous because they understand cruelty without being seduced by it. That kind of insight makes them immune to manipulation. And that kind of immunity? It's terrifying to people who rely on mind games to win. Sigma males don't become villains. They just make sure no villain ever walks away clean. Number 3, they learn best from being discarded, not taught. Sigma males aren't shaped by guidance, they're forged by rejection. While most people grow through mentorship, praise, or structured teaching, Sigma males evolve through what others call abandonment, betrayal, or being overlooked. When they're discarded, mocked, or underestimated, something switches on inside them. It's not revenge they're after, it's recalibration. Quietly, they begin absorbing lessons no teacher could ever offer. There's something brutally honest about being thrown away. It strips off the sugarcoating and hands you raw truth. About people, about systems, about your own blind spots. Sigma males don't just survive those moments, they study them. Every silent goodbye becomes a masterclass in human nature. Every closed door becomes a syllabus. Every dismissal is a challenge to build something stronger, smarter, and harder to ignore. And they don't just learn what happened, they learn why. Why someone ghosted, why a group turned on them, why they were passed over. They replay it like film footage, emotionally detached, analytically engaged. This isn't emotional masochism, this is tactical growth. Where most people look for closure, Sigma males look for clarity. And when they find it, they never forget it. It's what makes them so mentally sharp later in life. Their wisdom isn't second-hand. It wasn't handed down by some guru or learned through a textbook. It was downloaded through pain, filtered through solitude, and coded into their behavior with surgical precision. You can't teach this kind of intelligence in a classroom. You can't replicate it in a seminar. You can't even explain it fully to someone who's never been discarded like trash and came back with gold in their hands. Sigma males don't just bounce back, they reprogram themselves. And the next time someone tries to discard them, it doesn't break them, it activates them. This is why they eventually become people others look up to, even if they never asked for it. Their knowledge isn't performative, it's earned. And the irony? The same people who once dismissed them often return, curious, confused, maybe even regretful, only to realize they were part of the Sigma male's evolution all along. They didn't teach him. They triggered his awakening. Number 4, they don't study people. They reverse engineer motives. Sigma males don't waste time decoding facial expressions or memorizing body language charts. That's surface-level psychology, useful for amateurs. They go deeper into the operating system beneath the personality. When they study someone, they're not thinking, what are they doing? They're asking, what made them like this? It's not curiosity, it's calculation. They reverse engineer motives like a tech analyst, tearing down a machine. Every habit, reaction, or casual comment becomes a clue, not to judge, but to understand. Sigma males don't just want to know how someone behaves, they want to uncover why they're wired that way. Childhood patterns, social survival tactics, deep-rooted insecurities, unspoken desires, all of it gets scanned and filed in the Sigma's internal database. They're not reading people like books, they're hacking them like encrypted files. While others are distracted by the tone of someone's voice or the way they fidget, the Sigma male is silently tracing the emotional code behind it. Not because they want to manipulate people, but because they don't want to be manipulated by them. This is what makes their social intuition unnerving. They can sense the real reason behind a fake apology. They can hear the desperation hiding behind kindness. They can tell when someone's trying to bond or when they're just trying to control, and they rarely react. They just take notes mentally, silently, permanently. It's not about being cold or paranoid, it's about clarity. Most people walk into relationships blind and then act surprised when the truth hits them later. Sigma males walk in already knowing what most people never see until it's too late. This ability also makes them hard to lie to. Not because they're suspicious, but because they already studied your patterns before you opened your mouth. They don't just listen to what you say. They calculate why you chose those words, why you needed to say it that way, and what emotional angle you're aiming for. That's not analysis, that's mental X-ray vision. And the wild part, most people never realize they're being read because Sigma males don't announce it. They just observe, decode, and move accordingly. Always 5 steps ahead because they weren't looking at your behavior. They were reading your blueprint. Number 5, they read environments like they were designed them. Sigma males don't just walk into a room, they download it. The moment they step in, they're not focused on small talk or who's smiling at who. They're scanning the entire ecosystem. Who's really in control here? Who's pretending to be? Who's performing? Who's observing? And who's secretly uncomfortable? While others are still introducing themselves, the Sigma already knows who's bluffing, who's insecure, and who's trying too hard. They don't do this consciously. It's wired into how they move through the world. They pick up on things most people overlook. The split-second eye rolls. The energy dips when someone speaks. The way people reposition themselves when someone walks in. To most, it's background noise. To a Sigma male, it's data. They read the room like an engineer analyzing a system failure, calm, precise, detached. This is why Sigma males often seem calm and reserved in social settings. It's not shyness, it's information overload. Their mind is processing subtle energy shifts, tone changes, body alignments, and conversational power plays in real time. They're not overwhelmed, they're collecting. And by the time most people figure out the dynamics of a space, the Sigma has already adjusted his position to either observe from a safe angle or disrupt the flow entirely. They understand that the loudest voice isn't always the leader, that charm doesn't equal influence. That sometimes the person standing in the corner with a drink and a fake smile is the one pulling strings behind the scenes. Sigma males don't need to ask who's important, they feel it. They spot the fake confidence, the disguised resentment, the fear pretending to be boldness. They move strategically. They don't force attention. They don't need to. Their understanding of the environment becomes their power. They know when to speak and when silence will make a stronger impact. They know which connections are real and which ones are time bombs wrapped in politeness. They're not there to fit in. They're there to assess. That's why you can't throw a Sigma off balance in a room full of egos. He already mapped out the emotional terrain before you even noticed he arrived. Because to him, every space is a system. And systems can always be read, understood, and outplayed. Number 6, they don't need to be the smartest in the room, they just know what that costs. Sigma males are not chasing trophies for being the smartest person in the room. They know the truth no one talks about. Being visibly intelligent often comes with a price. It invites ego battles, subtle sabotage, and fake alliances dressed as admiration. And for what? Applause from people they do not even trust? That is not a deal Sigma males are willing to make. They understand that proving your intelligence to others is often just a performance. It means constantly explaining yourself. It means defending every idea. It means being surrounded by people who want to challenge you, not learn from you. And worst of all, it means becoming a target. Sigma males see that trap from a distance. That is why they often play it cool, even when they could outthink everyone in the room. They do not need to win conversations. They are not trying to impress. If anything, they would rather let people assume they are average. Being underestimated gives them space. It gives them peace. It gives them freedom to think clearly while others are busy competing for attention. This is not false humility. It is tactical silence. Sigma males do not need constant validation to feel intelligent. They already know how their mind works. They know their depth. They know their insight does not need to be displayed to have value. And when they do speak, it hits harder, because they have been quiet long enough to understand the room first. They have listened, observed, and studied. So when they finally open their mouth, it is not noise, it is impact. They have learned that always trying to be the smartest in the room creates enemies. It drains energy. It pulls you into ego games that are designed to distract, not elevate. That is a tax they are simply not willing to pay. So while others chase the spotlight, the Sigma male slips into the shadows, calm, sharp, and fully aware of everything. He does not need to prove he is smart. He just needs to stay free enough to keep thinking clearly, and that is what makes him smarter than most. Number 7, they treat trauma like a puzzle, not a curse. Sigma males don't romanticize their pain or drown in it. They approach it like a puzzle that must be cracked, not a curse that defines them. When life hits hard, they don't collapse and spiral into why me mode. They go quiet, go deep, and start sorting through the wreckage piece by piece. Not for sympathy, but for strategy. They understand something most people don't. Trauma has patterns, and patterns can be decoded. So instead of letting their pain rot into bitterness, they pick it apart. What happened? Why did it happen? What was the trigger, the blind spot, the weakness that led it through? They do not sit there journaling endlessly about how unfair it was. They study it like a system failure that must never be repeated. And once they understand it, they upgrade. Silently, completely, without warning. Every betrayal becomes a lesson in human behavior. Every loss becomes insight into how attachment works. Every emotional wound becomes a clue about their inner architecture and how to rebuild it stronger. Sigma males aren't trying to heal in public. They don't post vague quotes about pain or look for comfort in crowds. They disappear. They rewire, and they return sharper than anyone remembers. People often mistake this for coldness, but it's not. It's efficiency. Sigma males know that pain is inevitable, but wasting it is optional. They're not in denial. They just refuse to let their trauma become an identity. For them, pain is data, and that data gets processed into strategy. That's why you rarely see a Sigma male repeat the same mistake twice. The heartbreak that shattered him once becomes the emotional blueprint he uses to navigate future relationships. The rejection that crushed him turns into the instinct that now protects him. Nothing is left unused. By the time most people are still venting, the Sigma has turned his worst memories into a mental firewall. You won't hear him talk about it often, but if you watch how he moves, how he protects his peace, how he reads people and situations so precisely, you'll realize the pain didn't make him bitter, it made him unbreakable. Number 8, they build psychological escape routes in every relationship. Sigma males love, but they love with their eyes wide open. While most people get swept up in feelings and fantasies, Sigma males stay grounded. They can be loyal, devoted, and deeply connected, but behind all that, they're quietly building an exit strategy. Not because they're planning to leave, but because they refuse to be trapped, especially by emotional manipulation, guilt tactics, or toxic patterns dressed up as love. For them, freedom isn't a preference, it's non-negotiable. And that freedom starts with having a mental back door, even in the most intense relationships. While others are busy merging lives, bank accounts, identities, and boundaries, the Sigma male is observing, studying behavior, noticing shifts, tracking red flags. They're loving you, yes, but they're also scanning for signs that the relationship could one day turn into a prison. They don't do this out of paranoia, they do it out of experience. Sigma males have likely seen how fast love can flip, how affection can become control, how vulnerability can be weaponized. So instead of being blindly romantic, they build quiet safeguards, a mindset, a financial plan, an emotional detachment muscle that can activate if things go dark. This doesn't mean they're cold, it means they're prepared. Most people confuse devotion with dependency. Sigma males don't. They can be present without being possessed. They can share their life without surrendering their peace. And if the relationship turns into a battlefield of guilt, chaos, or control, they won't beg. They won't scream. They'll just exit. Because they already rehearsed that move in their mind 1,000 times. This is why Sigma males are hard to manipulate emotionally. They're not afraid of losing someone if it means saving themselves. They're not scared to walk away, even from deep love, if that love becomes suffocating. And that mental independence, it's not heartless, it's armor. They don't want to escape love, they just want to know that if they ever need to, they can. Without drama, without breakdowns, just clarity, calm, and complete control. Number 9, they pick battles that leave echoes, not just victories. Sigma males don't waste energy proving points in every argument. They don't care about winning debates, looking clever, or collecting applause for being right. That's low-level engagement. They operate on a deeper level. When they choose to confront someone, it's not for show, it's for impact. Not surface-level impact, but the kind that shakes a person to their core and lingers long after the moment ends. They don't strike often, but when they do, it's intentional. Every word, every pause, every silence is calculated. They've already played the conversation out in their mind. They've studied the opponent, traced the emotional fault lines, and pinpointed exactly where to land the blow so it cuts deeper than expected, not out of cruelty, but precision. They know that arguing for attention or dominance just exposes your energy to chaos. That's why they stay silent most of the time. But if someone keeps testing them, disrespects boundaries, or thinks the Sigma male is an easy target, what comes next isn't loud rage, it's cold truth, delivered with surgical precision. It's not about volume, it's about voltage. Sigma males don't raise their voice, they raise the stakes. They say the one sentence that exposes the entire lie. They point out the flaw in your logic that makes everything else collapse. Or they walk away at the exact moment that makes their absence more powerful than any comeback. These are not battles for ego, these are psychological events. People don't forget the day a Sigma male finally spoke up. They don't forget the way it made them feel, seen, exposed, or completely dismantled. Not because the Sigma humiliated them, but because he made them face something they'd been avoiding. That's what makes their battles different. They don't leave bruises, they leave echoes. So while others spend their time arguing in circles, trying to win every exchange, the Sigma male chooses just a few moments. Rare, raw, and ruthless. Moments that don't just shut down a conversation, they alter the way you move from that day forward. Number 10, they don't flex knowledge, they hide it until it's lethal. Sigma males don't need to broadcast what they know. They have nothing to prove and no interest in looking like the smartest guy in the room. In fact, they'd rather let you assume they're average. Clueless even, because while you're underestimating them, they're collecting intel, building leverage, and moving silently in the background. They don't flex knowledge, they store it like ammunition, quiet, sharp, and saved for the right moment. They know that revealing your hand too early turns insight into vulnerability. That's why Sigma males keep their cards close and their thoughts even closer. They might sit through an entire conversation listening to half-baked theories, bad advice, or outright manipulation without flinching. Not because they're naive, but because they're watching, learning, and letting you dig your own intellectual grave. By the time most people realize the Sigma male understands what's going on, it's already too late. He's already made the move, already anticipated the play, already set something in motion that's impossible to reverse. And when it unfolds, it looks effortless, like magic, but it wasn't magic. It was patience, silence, and surgical timing. Sigma males are masters of delayed execution. They don't correct fools in real time. They let reality do the correcting. They don't lecture people who won't listen. They just make moves that prove their point without a single word. Their intelligence isn't loud because it doesn't need to be. It doesn't beg to be seen. It waits to be felt. And when it hits hard. That's why they're so difficult to predict. Just when someone thinks they've got the Sigma figured out, when they think he's passive, detached, or uninformed, he makes a move so precise and unexpected it changes the entire game, not for attention, not for credit, but because the timing was right. You won't see them coming, you won't see them brag. You'll just see the aftermath and wonder how you missed the warning signs. But the truth is he gave you no signs, because that's how silent mastery works. It does not announce itself, it strikes. Number 11, they learn from silence faster than others learn from books. Sigma males don't need noise to grow. In fact, they thrive in the exact opposite, silence. While the world scrambles for non-stop stimulation, endless information, and constant opinions, Sigma males retreat into quiet. Not because they are hiding, but because that is where their mind becomes razor sharp. They are not afraid of silence. They use it like a tool. In that quiet space, they observe themselves, their thoughts, their patterns, and the world around them without distraction. No lectures, no panels, no podcasts, just pure mental processing, uninterrupted by the chaos that most people willingly drown in. And here is the difference. Most people chase knowledge like a product. Sigma males absorb it like oxygen. They do not need to attend 1,000 seminars to figure out how people operate. They watch, they listen, they think. Then they draw conclusions so precise and grounded, it often leaves others wondering how they got so wise without doing what everyone else is doing. The secret: they learn from stillness. They let silence speak before they do. In solitude, they uncover what noise usually hides: truth. Not recycled facts or borrowed beliefs, but their own internal clarity. That kind of insight does not come from memorizing quotes or reading the latest self-help trend. It comes from confrontation with the self. It comes from unfiltered observation. While others are busy reacting, Sigma males are reflecting. While the crowd is talking over itself to sound intelligent, Sigma males are downloading the entire situation in silence, and that silence, it becomes their classroom, it becomes their teacher. And it always delivers lessons faster, deeper, and more permanently than anything printed in a book. That is why they often seem years ahead of their peers mentally and emotionally. They did not just read about boundaries, they learned them by sitting alone long enough to feel what gets crossed. They did not just memorize emotional intelligence, they sharpened it through quiet self-awareness. Sigma males know the truth. Not all growth makes noise. Some of the most powerful lessons arrive when everything else finally shuts up. Number 12, they understand power without needing to crave it. Sigma males understand power in a way that makes people uncomfortable. They don't chase it, they study it. They look at power structures the way an architect looks at a flawed building. Every weak beam, every hidden exit, every pressure point. While most people are busy trying to climb the ladder, impress the boss, or join the elite circle, Sigma males are already analyzing the system behind it all. Not to be included, but to know how to walk around it, break it, or rebuild something better on their own terms. They are not impressed by titles, status, or flashy authority. In fact, those things usually signal a warning. Sigma males know that the loudest leaders often hold the least real power. So instead of inserting themselves into hierarchies, they learn how those hierarchies work. Who really makes the decisions? Who is just a puppet? Who folds under pressure? Who plays the long game? These are the questions the Sigma quietly answers while others chase visibility. And once they understand how the machine runs, they make a choice. Get involved, avoid it, or quietly rig it. Their relationship with power is not emotional. It is tactical. They do not need to dominate everyone around them to feel secure. They do not need to be in charge to feel important. That kind of insecurity does not live in them. This is why Sigma males are often underestimated by traditional power players. They are not trying to win in the way others do. But when the system starts to fail, or when the power structure turns toxic, the Sigma is the one who already knows the exits, the weak spots, and how to move through the chaos untouched. They do not worship power. They reverse engineer it. And because they do not crave it, they cannot be baited by it. You cannot control someone who does not need your approval. You cannot manipulate someone who sees the strings and the puppeteer behind them. Sigma males do not want to rule the world. They just want to understand it well enough to never be ruled by it. Sigma males aren't just intelligent in the traditional sense, they possess a rare form of psychological clarity that doesn't scream for attention but operates in silence and precision. They're not chasing validation, recognition, or control. They're navigating life with a mind that sees through illusion and a presence that thrives in solitude. What makes them so smart isn't their ability to memorize facts or recite philosophy. It's how they use pain as data, silence as training, and manipulation as a mirror they refuse to fall for. While the world flexes loud, reactive intelligence, the Sigma male refines his in the shadows, with discipline, with detachment, and with a level of self-awareness that makes him nearly impossible to control. He doesn't argue to be right. He doesn't speak to be praised. He doesn't act to be seen. He moves when it matters. He speaks when it changes the room. And he learns in ways most people never even recognize as learning. The world teaches people to perform. Sigma males teach themselves to understand. And that difference, that's where the real intelligence lives. So if you're watching this and realizing you've been misunderstood, mislabeled, or underestimated, good. Stay quiet, stay sharp, and keep moving in ways they'll never see coming. If this content resonated with you, if you saw pieces of yourself in every line, then don't just scroll away. Hit that subscribe button and join a community that doesn't follow the noise. We study it, decode it, and rise above it. Like the video if you value depth over performance. Drop a comment below and let us know which insight hit you the hardest. And share this with someone who walks through the world quietly but powerfully, just like a Sigma does. This isn't just a channel. It's a mindset, and if you're wired differently, you belong here. Stay sharp, stay silent, stay untouchable. We'll see you in the next one.